what I want to talk about is three things never to say to the IRS Revisited, but especially when it comes to audits, what to do and what not to do. When people get audited, they sometimes freak out.
Yep.
And now, one of the most common ways the IRS will audit individuals is an audit by mail. That's a real thing. They will actually send you the information, and you just really sort of correspond by mail only. But if you are being audited in person, that's a bigger deal? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the IRS has very few field agents. They're able to do the core audit, CORR, much cheaper because it's at a campus, an IRS campus. Memphis is a huge place where a lot of core audits are conducted. They're able to pay lower wages there to do, you're paying Memphis wages to do an audit for someone in Manhattan. Okay, that's a pretty good, that's what you're looking for. It's also you're able to do, because everything's documented, you're able to have a lower level employee who's not going to command the salary. There are employment options outside of the IRS, especially in Memphis. Look, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of jobs in Memphis that are going to pay as well as the IRS is. I'm not going to say that Memphis is a lower level employee, but I would just say this. Their appeals officers' exposure to things are not the greatest. You really don't want to deal with them. You'd want to get a local appeals officer, somebody not at a campus.
Got it. Okay, now something you mentioned is, should you record your audit?
Yeah.
So you have the right to do that?
Oh, yeah, you can.
Do you have to give them a notice first, obviously?
You give them notice, and you're going to, hey, look, I'm going to tape record the audit. Okay, and you can do it. And this is a big thing people want to know. Like, I really should protect myself, right? So I'm going to give some surprising advice. I've just said, hey, shut up, dummy. Be careful. They're not on your side. Now, surprisingly, I'm going to tell you, you probably don't want to record your audit because things can go in your favor sometimes too with the IRS. That somebody's, the agent's going to look at that they're doing a risk assessment, as they always do, to say, okay, is this really going to be worth it? There might be a favorable treatment. They could kind of say, well, look, I'm willing to do this if you can do this. If it's being recorded, they're not going to say, I'm willing to do this if you do this. They're going to say, you're creating a hostile environment.
Yes.
Even though it is a hostile environment, it is hostile. They're investigating you of your personal affairs, everything. This is a nasty, nasty experience for you. And for you to come back and be nasty, now you've upset this auditor who's just on the side of truth and justice. You've made this very hostile, and now they know it's like, you're going to be a problem, aren't you?
I feel like the IRS agent is a little porcupine, and his little quills are down. Yeah. And he looks soft, like you could pet him. And then you are like, hey, can I record this? And his quills go,
yep.
Sure, you can record this.
And now you're going to be identified as a problem. His supervisor is going to know, his or her, and they're going to watch this guy. Watch this guy, take a real hard look at him. Why the hell is he doing this? And I haven't run across I've never done an audit where I said, geez, I wish I recorded that.
Oh, wow.
Geez, I really did. Now, have I run across audits where a CPA or a taxpayer represented themselves and I said, Jesus, I wish this thing was recorded? Yes, I have. Because, this is what happens when the CPA who did your return is representing in your audit. That's a conflict of interest. That really is. They really can be saying things and leading the IRS down a way where, like, man, I really wish I knew what was said. And we don't know. And then also when a taxpayer is representing themselves, again, they're like, I didn't say that at all. I didn't say that at all. Why did they say that? Well, they thought they heard it. And it's, again, that language thing. They thought they heard something, and then they put it back into their own words. And so when you have somebody, a lawyer say, okay, let's clarify what we meant by this. You can read their body language when they're jumping to a conclusion. Hang on a second. So what we meant by this was that he knew completely about the form. He just needed a little time, and he didn't realize the significance that this would lead to this. He didn't know that the time was that sensitive. That is the way to explain it, as opposed to, I just wasn't going to do it.
I didn't have the time.
I didn't have the time for you. I didn't have the time for you, IRS. We always have the time. We love being in compliance. There's nothing more we love than being in compliance.
Yeah, we just, on Saturday nights, we get into compliance. It's fun. All right, so your right to silence, what is that, and should you invoke it?
Well, you do have the right to shut up about everything. You know, if you don't want to, if you don't want to cooperate with an audit, and people don't, then the IRS does the audit without you. And they send you a bill, and then they're going to go ahead and enforce it. If you want to challenge the audit, you're going to have to open your mouth to say, this is what's wrong about it. Now, they're not supposed to use what you say in an audit for criminal charges. They're not supposed to, but audits do lead to criminal referrals.
Okay.
They do, which will start the investigation of things that, you know, the investigators will start saying. Typically, you don't see auditors testifying at a criminal trial unless it's an auditor who wasn't involved in the case explaining, okay, this is where the assessment numbers came up, but it was not the person who talked to the taxpayer. So there is, I mean, it's sort of, you know, they've, you know, the federal government's going to take care of the federal government first. It's completely invasive because it's like, well, why is it that what you can say can be used against you if they're going to take your money, right? But if you're going to go to prison, then it can't be used against you. But if they're just going to take your money and make your life miserable, then it can be.
Yeah.
It's civil. That's what they say. It's civil. It's like, this is not civil.
No, it's not.
No, do you know what that word means? Right.
A couple great hints I had read online. There's no such thing as idle conversation with a person from the IRS. Don't chatter or exchange casual conversation. Each comment will only give them basically more ammo. So, I mean, if you've got a really good agent, he's just going to start BSing. He's going to be your buddy off the bat, maybe, because the more comfortable you are with him, the more likely you are to say something.
It's, you know, not just with auditors, but with revenue officers. These guys are the brilliant ones. They're the brilliant ones who are, oh, totally reasonable guy. Hey, it was great. We were able to work out a settlement. And, you know, we didn't need to get all those lawyers involved, you know, because look, anything we're going to pay to the lawyer, we just have to pay to the IRS again. So real reasonable guy, real reasonable, you know, we're able to work something out together. And then what happens? Oh, the deal's not sustainable. It actually didn't solve the problem, went backwards. That person led you down a road and you paid back more than you could afford. And now where are you?
He's not your buddy at all.
He's not your buddy. I mean, they're there to take your stuff.
And when it comes to audits on businesses, the IRS often wants to do this audit at your place of business, which is a nice way for them to get in the door, see what's happening, see what everything looks like. Maybe you're more comfortable there, more likely to talk. I saw it referred to as a fishing expedition.
That is what, yeah, and I think that's really it. You're more comfortable. This is your home turf, so you think you have the advantage. No.
And it's your right to say, no, let's do it at the IRS office or let's do it,
we do it in
my attorney's office.
You're right. And that's what we'll do. Sometimes we do them over the phone too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we'll do them over the phone. Like, well, what do you want to talk about? You know, the client may or may not be on the phone. We're like, why do you need to talk to the client? You don't need to.
True.
What's the question you have for him? I'll get you the answer. You can do that. So that's also the other thing too is, you know, if I'm under audit, I don't want to deal with the IRS for myself.
No.
I don't even want to be there. I want someone else. I'm paying someone else not to deal with this nightmare, not to have this incredible pressure. And even people, I have nothing to hide. It was the most stressful thing of my life. I had nothing to hide, but it was terrible. And it's, well, you know, because you don't know what they're going to come up with. You don't know. You don't know what they're going to think. Oh, they see this and this, and they're assuming something that's just simply not true.
All right. So I'd say bottom line here is sort of what we started with. Never voluntarily tell the IRS anything. Don't give them anything they haven't asked for. Right. Yeah.
Just to understand that it's a complete risk. If you are, you know, there's a certain percentage of the population. This is what people need to know. There's a very small segment of the population that is involved in the criminal
activity.
System, okay? And if you're involved in the criminal system, the chances are your record is pages and pages long, okay? It's rare when you're representing somebody in court that says somebody comes in the court, they're 35 years old, you're talking to the prosecutor, and they're like, well, this is their first offense. They're going to look up, they're going to drop their pencil, then they'll say, well, why are they here? That is, you are the one who's sticking out. If you don't have a prior record, you look strange when you're in court.
Wow.
Because who's in court are the repeats.
Right.
The same old faces. Okay, I swear this time, blah, blah, blah. That is, so for most people, they might have 1 or 0 experience in the criminal law. They're not at risk for criminal prosecution. It's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Where they are at risk is with the IRS. This is their biggest threat. This is the biggest legal threat in their life that is ongoing. And the more money you make, the more likely it will be a threat. That's what you need to know. And that, yes, the criminal charges can spring from that. That is far more likely. And I mean, the people who are charged, it's really random who's charged with tax evasion. Just, stupid things said, and then professionals lying about things to cover their own ass. That happens too.
Yep.
The IRS says what they want. This person said, he wanted to do this, this, and this. Completely made up. Doesn't matter.
Was that Beanie Baby guy?
I can't comment on that. I don't know for sure.
If you Google that, there's some interesting
I think there's
articles.
something interesting about the Beanie Baby guy, Ty Warner. We did talk about this before, right?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I already said this, yeah.
Oh, there's articles all over the place.
Yeah, so Ty Warner's attorney was the one who set up the entire structure. He also represented him in a criminal trial.
Probably
And
not
then
the best
when
idea.
Ty Warner pleads guilty for that charge, he is now frustrated from bringing a malpractice claim against that attorney who advised him to do all his things. He was like, I didn't know anything about these offshore accounts that I failed to set up correctly, because Ty Warner has no interest in evading taxes because he's got more money.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
he's
not an
a
IRS
genius.
expert.
He made bean
Filled
animals.
Animals.
Billions of dollars. A genius. Right.
Yep.
And so he's just trusting. And so this guy, I mean, really, just disgusting. And of course, the Department of Justice knew full well, we're going to get a great press release because this guy's he's going to twist his client's arm and then I was just reading his contrition. Oh, Ty's going into 4 years. He went in for 4 freaking years. Mm-hmm. Hired the wrong attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, and he felt guilty about it too. I read at sentencing, he was, oh yeah, I just, did a lot of wrong things. And that's one thing, I think I want to leave people with this.
Okay.
People want to get things off their chest. The need for confession. Confession is good for the soul, right? You need to get something off yourself and come clean. And people get this mistaken idea that you should come clean to the IRS, that you need to clear your soul. Now, you need to be in compliance. I'm not saying that, but you need to go further. You need to come clean with your soul and confess all of your sins to the IRS, who are basically like pedophiles. I mean, that's really it. They are the pedophiles. These guys are creeps. What they're doing is completely nasty. It's not voluntary. They're not asking you for your money. They're saying, man,
Here's the law.
Here it is. And we got the guns to back it up. We got a whole Federal Bureau of Prisons where you're going to go if you don't do it. And if we don't even put you in prison, we could put you in a psychological prison where we levy your assets, lien you just for the hell of it. So that's what you need to know. This is not your priest. The IRS is not your psychologist. It's not your spouse. It's not your buddy. It's not your pal. It's a horrible organization that you at least have to put on the veneer that you actually respect them. Pretend you do and act that way. And deep inside, you'll know they're evil. That's my
And keep
advice.
your mouth shut as much as you can.
Oh, God, yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching. IRSMedic, the law offices of Parent LLP. Real tax attorneys for tough tax problems.